Hey guys, Native American Tatanka. You're listening to We Are Wrestling Old School versus New School. It's again Native American Tatanka. Peace. I'm out.
Stick to what you know how to do best. That's talking to that and sign checks. Yeah. Leave the rest on me, Daddy.
Up goes Blanchard.
My hard-earned tax money.
1, 2, 3. Guaranteed victory.
It's always you, Brett.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Things I want to get off my chest.
We Are Wrestling, Old School versus New School podcast. What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, New School fan, Best One Donnie here with my co-host.
What's going on, guys? Voice of the faithful, Phil McManus. I've been on here a few times. I'm the old guy.
That's right. He's representing New School. And if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you haven't checked out the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you to hit that subscribe button now. Turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And of course, you already know the grind is real. And we do want to let all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs know before we dive into our topic for this week on Old School versus New School that we're going to be live over on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel on Saturday, January 27th for the WWE Royal Rumble, one of the biggest events of the year. And it's going to be one of our biggest streams. So definitely recommend you guys to come join us and watch the Rumble. But this week on Old School versus New School, what are we going to be talking about, Phil?
Health plans? AAA? No.
We'll be getting that a lot going into the new year.
We're going to be talking about finishers. We're going to be talking about 5-star matches. And we're going to be talking about the art of the kick out of the finisher and how it's changed over the years.
That's right. So this week, we're going to be diving into finishers and 5-star matches because obviously in, the pro wrestling, business, a lot has changed when it comes to a finisher and what you consider a 5-star match. And of course, when you think of, a finisher or 5-star match, what's the first thoughts that come to your mind as, a pro wrestling fan?
5-star matches that automatically come to my head. Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania. It had the story. It didn't even need a lot of execution. It was the storyline. It was one of those few matches where no matter what it looked like, it was going to be a 5-star match. Again, in the Shawn Michaels vault, WrestleMania 21, Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. One of the greatest matches of all time.
That one
One of the greatest matches of all time. A very controversial one. Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle, Royal Rumble 2001. That match was...
that was 2003.
2003, that's what it was. I was there front row, man. That shit was amazing. Oh, God, dude. Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat. Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay for recent. Anytime.
Yeah, from Wrestle Kingdom last year, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, dude. Oh, God, dude. FTR and the Briscoes 3. That was art. That was fucking amazing. And one of my old favorites, too, the Ring of Honor classic, was the American Dragon, Daniel Bryan versus Bryan Danielson, versus Low-Ki.
That is a underrated match right there. That's like one of the first matches that I actually watched before, like, I kind of started, to pay attention to Ring of Honor. That's a good one.
Oh, dude, I got that in a tape trade, like we talked about a long time ago, where my buddy gave me a tape of some Ring of Honor matches, and that was one of the big matches on there. And I didn't know who Bryan Danielson was at the time. I'm like, who's this kid with the white trunks? All right, let's see what happens. Bro, and Low-Ki was already an Impact at the time, making a big name for himself, dude. Like, and if you don't know who Low-Ki is, like, go back and watch. I mean, he may not be as spectacular now, but back then, it was unheard of to see shit like that outside of Mexico.
One
So
guy that
seeing
had a
him
horrible
strike-
WWE run with that whole NXT, game show season. I feel so bad because he's so talented.
Such a talented worker, dude. But yeah, that match blew my mind, dude. Oh, and CM Punk and fucking Raven, the dog collar match, dude.
The dog collar match,
Oh.
that's a good one right there.
That's a fucking great match too, dude. And when Cena took the belt, when Punk took the belt off Cena, I'll even give that at SummerSlam, man. That it wasn't the match, it was the feel and the build up towards it. Kind of like the Yes movement, dude. When Daniel Bryan won, or Kofi Mania when Kofi won. It doesn't for me have to be just a match.
So
It has
that's
to be
like
the
where
moment.
I kind of have to tag myself in, because for me, when it comes to a 5-star match, the first thing that comes to my mind is, in order for it to be a 5-star match under, best one Donnie's, star ratings, it's got to have a solid storyline leading to the match. The
Amen,
story
bro.
is everything, and I feel like when it comes to new school wrestling, that's the biggest thing we're lacking, is
Amen.
that storytelling. And one of, the 5-star matches that, I can really say is a perfect example, which is an old school, rivalry, and an old school two guys that, really had a lot of animosity towards one another, but told a great story. It's got to be Bret the Hitman Hart versus Shawn Michaels.
I knew you were going to say it, man.
Anytime them two get in the ring, that was a 5-star classic. Not only were they both technically great in the ring, which, obviously they were phenomenal both in the ring and outside the ring, but their storytelling and that animosity added so much more to it, and it made us viewers very invested.
And one thing about that too that I see is WWE right now has that opportunity to have that again with Seth Rollins and CM Punk.
Yes, that's the biggest
exactly what's
comparison
happening.
I thought of when, Seth Rollins threw that tantrum after Survivor Series, which I gotta say, man, for old school, what Triple H is doing right now in WWE is brilliant, because a lot of the times you can do little things and let the fans, take it on as like whatever they're going to think, and let it just blow up all over social media.
Oh, fuck
and I
yeah,
think
dude,
that's what Triple
exactly.
H has done so far. Like, for example, with this whole day one thing that happened, in the beginning of this month, Triple H, pretty much teased that somebody was going to show up and didn't really, talk about it as much. He let the WWE universe go all over social media and talk about who's it going to be. And that's how people tuned into it. So I do like what they're doing new school wise when it comes to that.
I agree with you. I think the way Triple H is running the WWE right now, and with what they're doing currently with enhancing their storylines, the way they're handling the press conferences, the way they're letting storylines actually build and play out over a long period of time. Like, I can't wait to see what they do with Drew McIntyre after he lost now. And it's like, dude, I didn't give a shit about Drew McIntyre for so fucking long that it's nice to actually fucking care about a character again. And that's because they're developing it over time and letting it build and letting it go. And dude, this CM Punk Seth Rollins thing is going to be great. But I mean, dude, look what they did with The Rock. Like the surprise, him coming out, Jinder Mahal at first is a swerve. We all knew there was a swerve with that. And then The Rock comes out and
That
he
was
ends
great.
with the, or should I sit at the head of the table? Setting up our elimination chamber, probably. Dude, you just sold so many people on the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. Or if they have it at WrestleMania, which I see some people are arguing, but I think the way that Perth was, that they really wanted The Rock to begin with, and they obviously got the money together to make it happen.
Absolutely. And also, a couple more, 5-star matches that I really enjoyed, throughout the years. Loved, John Cena versus Edge at
those were great.
Unforgiven in Toronto. That, TLC match.
TLC.
Fantastic. Obviously, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21. my
Oh,
favorite, match of all time. And also, another match that I really enjoyed as well was John Cena versus JBL at Judgment Day, the I Quit match
That's
back
a
in
very underrated
2005.
match. That's a great match, Donnie. That's a really good
And
fucking
that's
match.
the thing about it. A lot of these matches that I'm mentioning, John Cena and CM Punk, at SummerSlam, champion versus champion, it all had a storyline.
A fucking build-up, dude.
A
That
build-up.
is when
That's
that
the
is
word.
when wrestling is perfect. When you have a slow build over time that escalates to the point where the fans can't fucking take it anymore, and they break out the Limp Bizkit video to show you just
My
how far
way.
it's come.
Yep, my way.
That's how you sell a fucking pay-per-view to a random stranger, by showing them those videos, dude. It's like, now it's just, we get thrown together. Or AEW, which is like, hey, let's do a tournament for our 37th belt this month.
You see, that's the thing. Like, I'm going to say this about AEW. Like, I see the potential there. And I think that sports, competition could work in professional wrestling if it's done correctly. And the problem is with AEW is they build this, momentum going up to the pay-per-views. Usually the week before the pay-per-view, it's very, very exciting. And, last month in December, I got the opportunity to go out to Long Island, New York for AEW's World's End. And that Dynamite episode before it was fantastic. Perfect build for the pay-per-view. Going to the pay-per-view and show, fantastic. And then you look at the match card for what's going to happen Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. All that excitement down the drain. That's the issue.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean,
wrestling.
You know how I feel about it. And that's the thing. I don't hate it. I want it to survive. I was gung-ho Captain AEW during the pandemic, like we said before. They were doing everything right, and then they forgot who they were and tried to be something they're not. They're trying to do the NJPW tournament style while still trying to follow the WWE storyline model, and they're just mixing the two and forgetting how to do it. There's so many talented people there that deserve a shot. They need to reboot the entire fucking brand top to bottom, in my opinion. It'll never happen, but I wish they would. Because there's so many fucking titles. There's so many tournaments. There's so much shit. It's like, and like we said before, the last time I recorded with you, when they had Mox beat Swerve so they could have Mox go to the finals, dude. And then it was a triple threat. And what happened? Mox wins again to fight Kingston so they can have that moment.
I will say this.
That was a great moment. If
it was like Jon Moxley versus anybody else, I wouldn't have been happy. But because of the history Mox and Kingston had, for me, I enjoyed that match a lot more than
me too.
I thought I was going to.
Me too. I agree, because it had a storyline element to it. But here's the problem. When was the last time we saw those two together on fucking TV, man? That's a match you built to before.
I wish I could answer that question, and I can't.
Because if you look here in 2020, 2021, yeah, they were on TV together. They had all these matches. But, bro, what made them come back? There's a tournament brought you closure to that story. Fuck that. I wanted promos. I wanted them going at it. I wanted, give me one more fucking shot there, Mox. Shit like fucking that, dude. That's what old school wrestling had. Is it had that moment where you're blending two things. You're blending the dialogue of a movie to care about characters with the action sequences, but you only get one fucking take. That's what wrestling is.
And that's the problem with AEW, is that they're right now in the middle and they can't decide if they want to go down, the storyline path, or they want to go down the New Japan Pro Wrestling path. And I definitely see where you're coming from with that take. 100%.
They got to pick. And I mean, honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. Take Ring of Honor and make it the tournament company. Because guess what? Ring of Honor has always been about the matches, because they never had a shot to really do big storylines. When they did, they were great. Punk Raven, fantastic. But like, dude, all the shit they did with fucking, what's his name, dude? The villain. Marty Scurll, fantastic. Fucking Bryan Danielson, fantastic. Austin Aries, fantastic. But like, dude, you got TNA coming back, and dude, I'll say it, they're a pretty good seat company for storylines. And if they get the roster that we have and they get a better writing group, they could be the secondary promotion. I'll watch more than AEW, because I like a little story with my fights. I like to be invested in the characters. Sure, I love watching Will Ospreay. I'll get stoned. I'll put on a Will Ospreay match. I'll be happy as a pig in fucking shit, dude, because I'm watching art. I'm watching someone who's the best in the game and the best in the business at in-ring work right now, doing his thing. And that's great. But if I'm watching every fucking week, I don't want to watch a fucking like Daniel Garcia match every week and watching him doing the air.
You don't want to see him dance?
That's not my fucking thing, dude. No, like, I want to see a fucking storyline, dude. Like,
I'm with you on that one.
I want to see a build-up on your mid-card. I want to see a build-up in your women's division, which, by the way, gotta say it, Toni Storm, best thing in the fucking
timeless Toni Storm, yes.
Best fucking gimmick in wrestling right now.
You want to talk about somebody that's new school, that's going back old school. Timeless Toni Storm.
That is how you fucking do it. It's a mix of everything. It's a mix of it all. And you jump and put her with fucking Rio? What the fuck are you doing? That's a
I will say that is a solid. They actually did do a solid storyline as, you know, an AEW viewer. I actually kind of liked it because you got to slowly build up this title run. We don't want to throw her into the pack of wolves yet. We want to build a legitimate title run. And having somebody that was the first champion, honestly, I think, wasn't a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
And Rio actually did show up, I think, too.
Bro, I'm sorry. I think partly for me, it's I can't take Rio seriously. I never could. I can't see past it. There are some things in wrestling that you watch as a fan, and this is where I guess I'm old school, and I see someone like her, and I think to myself, how the fuck is she going to beat up my 10-year-old daughter?
Oh, my goodness. I will say this. I don't know how she beat Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's Championship.
Bad writing?
Yeah, technically. But, you know, getting into Will Ospreay, though, I will say this. And I think a lot of people forget how good he is at selling a pay-per-view match.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of the times, we all know that he is right now probably the best professional wrestler in that ring. No questions about it.
Dude,
but a lot of people forget. But a lot of people forget how good he is on the mic, and these press conferences that New Japan Pro Wrestling does to sell the fights. That's why I'm saying the sports-based pro wrestling could work in 2024. Yeah. It's just how they do it. And AEW, if they did the press conference route before the pay-per-views, I think that could really add a lot of, you know, animosity, add more to the feuds. Because one thing that we do have to admit is the AEW media scrum, even though a lot of the times Tony Khan, he talks in circles, it has been a really good thing for WWE and AEW, really letting the media, you know, ask these questions, and we get, you know, a little bit more of an insight of, you know, the superstar.
Prediction right here, okay? I've had this in my head for a few weeks now. If not by this WrestleMania, by next WrestleMania, with TKO being in charge, we're going to have a weigh-in for main events and WrestleMania during WrestleMania weekend.
That's exactly what AEW should do if they're going down this sports route. They definitely have the potential here, but like you were saying, they're right now in the middle. They don't know what to do. And I think if they go down one way or another, they make that decision, it definitely will help them out in the long run.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And here's the thing. I'm not one of those angry wrestling fans. I'm a happy guy. I fucking love all of wrestling. You put me in an independent show. You put me in AEW, TNA, GCW, MLW. I'm happy. I get to watch wrestling. I get to fucking be part of something amazing. I get to be the crowd. Like, it's great. But, like, when you're sitting there saying things are fine, when you're sitting there lying about numbers, when you're sitting there going on press conferences and saying things happen that never happened, bro, pump the fucking brakes and just realize you don't have to be competition right now. You were doing your best when you were just the other company. Get their name out your fucking mouth, make your own voice, create the company that, like, the original envision was, like, and keep it that way. They had a little bit of the TNA-itis where they brought in any fucking WWE guy they could for a while and pushed them for a bit. That's what cost
TNA, man. Mm-hmm. I love 2002 to 2009. TNA was the best during that time. Are you looking for wrestling content? Well, We Are Wrestling provides everything pro wrestling. The best one, Donnie, Gins, and the Load Rager Ben, are wrestling marks like you who love this sport. We Are Wrestling has it all when it comes to wrestling content. We have different podcasts, vlogs, reactions, full wrestling matches, live pay-per-view watch-alongs, interviews, predictions, and so much more. Only on We Are Wrestling. What are you waiting for? Subscribe and become a We Are Wrestling Maniac now. But now let's get into the finishers, because obviously back in the day they had a meaning, and nowadays we get, back in the day, perfect example here, Jake the Snake Roberts, a WWE Hall of Famer. He, created the DDT. And nowadays a DDT is just a regular move that a lot of guys, they'll kick out at one. So I got to ask you, Phil, as an old school wrestling head, what finishers back in, what was, hold on a second. I kind of botched right there.
That's all good, man.
I had a good thing going. Alrighty. And set. Action. So I do got to ask you, Phil, from an old school wrestling, perspective, why do you think the finishers lost its meaning during time?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I have an answer for that, actually. I believe it started happening when the indie guys started getting into the mainstream light. I'd say in the early aughts, in the early 2000s, is when it really became prevalent. And that's because you had guys who were doing that as everyday moves to sell a bingo hall crowd, now on the main stage and able to perform. I mean, you had luchadors who a DDT is just no one's business. It's just a boom. Okay, cool. I'm going to get right back up and swing up to the ropes and do a jump now. So when you got that lucha style of wrestling coming back into the main fold with WCW in the 90s, it previewed it. ECW as well, when you had the Rey Mysterio era around 96, RBD coming and shit like that, dude. A lot of those big moves started changing. So I feel like 96 to 2003, where it really became prevalent, where people like the Young Bucks or Generation Me and TNA, we're doing 35 fucking super kicks a match. When Shawn Michaels pulled out a super kick, over. That was it.
Oh,
now you see super kicks. I say if I put on Raw, I'll see 3 super kicks a night. If I put on AEW, I'll see 4. No matter what. If the Bucks are on, I'll see 20.
Hey, Usos too. You can't forget that.
Yeah, that's why Raw has it, because Raw, they'll do that a few times too. But it's a lot of the TNA, a lot of AEW guys are a lot more of that style of wrestling. Whereas WWE, you have more Gunthers, you have Drew McIntyre, shit like that. It's a nice evened out cast. AEW, it's I'd say 70% more indie type wrestling than more big guy type wrestling.
Yeah, because they consider themselves more professional wrestling than sports entertainment.
Exactly.
And with sports entertainment, they want to more focus on the art and the craft, and they feel like less is more. You want the moves to matter at times. AEW, on the other hand, they're just out there trying to really get a holy shit chant.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Joey Styles on commentary.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for.
You honestly just answered the question there, Donnie, because it's what it comes down to is when you're just concentrating on the sport, you lose some of the entertainment. And when you lose that part of the entertainment, you don't care about a finisher meaning something because you're just looking for the moment. You're not looking to make oh my God, it's over, he hit it. How the hell did he kick out? It's WrestleMania. That's how, JR. You don't get those. You get, it's a kick out. How'd he do it 6 fucking times now? How many Roman Reigns matches does he kick out of a finisher? Or does someone kick out of a spear? Or does someone kick out of the Superman punch the first time? Every fucking match, I guess, because it creates that moment of oh my God, he did it. But there's still a storyline to it, sort of.
There's still meaning so much. To it.
Yeah, does the finisher mean as much as it used to? No, but that's because the entertainment has changed so much, because now it's like a fucking movie. Like, I'd say WrestleMania 12 really started that with the Hollywood backlot brawl, dude, with Goldust and Roddy Piper. The first real, like, match that was kind of like the Broken Complex type shit, the pandemic type shit. That match made it not just entertaining. They did that shit, a lot of it, on one fucking take, dude. Like, it's when you add that aspect to wrestling and you make that aspect more into it. And WWE failed after that for a while with their TL Hopper type characters, Max Moon, all that shit. And WCW started like the NWO and all that crazy
based
shit. Yeah, man. They started seeing another change in wrestling. And that's where we had the Attitude Era come. And then after that, we had the Ruthless Aggression Era. And then we had what I call like the downtime, where wrestling kind of had a dull moment where there was some great matches here and there, but there wasn't anything really to call it an era. And right now, what Triple H is doing, it's the Triple H era of wrestling. It's Triple H's kids. I don't know what you want to call it, but right now we're in a new era of wrestling where there's a whole new type of product coming out on WWE's end and with competition with AEW, which it really isn't competition. I hate saying it is because they want to outdo each other because that's what sportsmen, that's what companies do. But like, if you really look at it by the number, there's no competition. It's more just they're another company that, dude, thank God WWE exists, like says it exists even. They could just not even say the words. They could be quiet about it. Anytime WWE mentions that guy came from AEW or like acknowledges it in a way by doing a little jab here and there or taking someone back, that puts eyes on AEW. They should be thanking them. When WWE gets mentioned on AEW, what's it do? It's like, oh God, they're talking shit again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I do have to say, you know, about AEW, though, and I think a lot of people, they really want AEW to, you know, go out of business, just like WCW, and that's one thing a lot of people, I think, forget, is that competition does bring out the best in everybody, and if it wasn't for AEW, I don't think we would be going through this whole Triple H era in WWE right now.
If it wasn't for Black and Gold, there wouldn't be AEW. I think if it wasn't for NXT Black and Gold being as popular as it was and bringing in those independent wrestlers, that AEW All In would have even happened the right way it did. I think NXT
totally
Black and
agree.
Gold was a catalyst. It really was a catalyst. And NXT Black and Gold, in my opinion, will go down as some of the best fucking wrestling and storytelling WWE has put out in the past 10 years.
I 100% have to agree with you on that. And, you know, when it comes to, you know, the whole finishers thing, you know, back in the day where I felt like, you know, things start, and like, here's the perfect example of why I think a lot of wrestlers, they need to, you know, consider, you know, trying to stop doing the holy shit stuff. Because, for example, right now in the independent, you know, circuit, who is the independent wrestler of the year in 2023?
Who was it? Who did PWI say it was?
Matt Cardona.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, dude. There you go.
And here's why. Because all these independent wrestlers out there, which, you know, I'm an advocate for pro, you know, indie wrestling, just like you are. We love that shit. Blitzkrieg Pro for life. But we got to call it like it is. A lot of these independent, you know, wrestlers, they all, you know, try to outperform each other in the ring. And, you know, they don't really focus on the character work. But what Matt Cardona is doing is he is trying to make viral moments at the independent shows that he's on so that people are talking about it. And that's the reason why he's put himself in a very successful, you know, position right now with what he's doing.
I agree with you 100%. Matt Cardona really learned how to thrive on the indies. But here's where I'll retort you and give you that debate, which is old school versus new school that you wanted from that show.
Let's go.
I'll say this to you, man. If he wasn't Zack Ryder before, would anyone give a shit about his gimmick, and how would they find out?
Now that you do have a point. But with GCW, though, that's where he really became.
Oh, yeah.
Matt
What I'm saying, dude, is if he didn't have a name before that, because you said a minute ago, a lot of indie wrestlers aren't able to do that with their character. That's because they do that with their character, and they do podcasts, they do videos on YouTube, but no one knows who the fuck they are till they go to the shows and they don't see that.
You got me
Matt
there.
Cardona does it. They're gonna be like, holy shit, Zack Ryder's on fucking GCW. I gotta see this. He already has a million followers.
You know, I'm gonna stop you here real quick. You got me there because when the reports came out all over TMZ with the whole, death match, it was, Zack Ryder's name. And a lot of people are like, the last person I would think would go through a death match is a guy that's going woo, woo, woo.
Exactly.
And
Like
he does
David,
have over
dude,
1 million followers, so
yeah.
I can't argue that. I can't.
It's like when David Arquette fought fucking what's his name, dude? Oh my god, pizza cutter guy. Fucking Jesus Christ.
Wait, the pizza cutter?
Death match.
Yeah, it was Nick Gage. Same
Nick
guy
Gage.
that fought Matt
Cardona. When Nick Gage fought David Arquette, dude, that made the news too because it's David fucking Arquette. How many independent guys fought him before that made the news?
And nobody talked about it, yeah.
So
exactly.
So here's my point. You said before that why aren't indie guys doing this? They are doing it. The real question is why aren't we seeing it?
Now that is definitely something that, really definitely opens the door there. And I will say this, going to, Blitzkrieg Pro shows, because I know Matt Cardona, has, been trying to help out a lot of independent wrestlers as well with a lot of his knowledge with, going viral and stuff.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that I'm noticing, on the Blitzkrieg Pro roster that's actually taking it as his advice.
Absolutely.
And one of the guys I want to mention, and I feel like this dude deserves more eyes on people.
I know what you're going to say.
Going into 2024. And when I saw this on his fucking table, I spent $75 on this. Bobby Orlando. This dude needs more eyes on him because because that's one thing with Matt Cardona, man. I saw, anybody can go on Pro Wrestle Tees and buy your shirt if they're really invested in you, but you need to, really get people to your merch table. And your goal should always be
gimmick.
To, sell your gimmick, make more money at your table than what you're getting at the promotion. And Bobby Orlando, what he's doing at his merch table is fucking brilliant.
My daughter has a Bobby Jr. in her bed.
Yep, Bobby Jr. I have him in my studio. And I also have this, sick plaque of, the match that I got to watch, him versus Jake Lang at Creator Pro. And he only made 7 of those. And when I saw that at his table, the first thing I thought of was, this merch table is standing out a lot more than everybody else. And I could tell he, is taking some advice from Matt Cardona, and I had to support him. Had to.
It's funny,
brilliant.
Man. Oh, absolutely brilliant, dude. And the entire Shook crew, dude. Bryce Donovan, Bobby Orlando, Max Caster, Leo, all the CAP guys, dude. Even with MJF's entrance, dude. Seeing all those guys on the big screen during that at World's End, it was fucking awesome, man.
I saw CPA in the front there live. I marked out. I loved it.
Dude, I did the same thing. I was like, oh my God, it's CPA.
And believe it or not, Phil, when we were there, dude, CPA chant started.
Dude, it's because of the Long Island boys, man. Like,
yep.
From the Hammock District in New York, man. I love that, man. CPA he's so funny. Did you know that he's been on Raw before?
Yep, I do.
Yeah. Yep, he was a stripper.
But, getting now, you got a little sidetracked here, but now, getting back into the finishers and stuff.
Yep.
That's the thing. Like, when it comes to, independent wrestling, I think it's okay to try to outshine one another because you're trying to get you want Impact Wrestling, you want WWE, you want AEW, you want MLW, NWA. You want them to be watching you in the ring. And that is how, a lot of the times that's how they have to get known. But I think when you're, on AEW or, TNA or WWE, then you really need to tone it back. And I think a lot of the times these wrestlers, they're thinking that, well, I'm the best in this ring and that's all I really need. And I think it's crazy to me. That's the reason why I think MJF, in my opinion, when it comes to new school wrestling, is the greatest professional wrestler right now, is because he did his research and he talks about it all the time in, his interviews and the media that, he watched all of, old school wrestling. And that's why, he doesn't, oversell moves and, he goes out there and he is putting on classics.
He's of the old school and new school mentality at the same time. The
Wish
boy
I had
can
my
wrestle.
scarf.
Oh my God, dude. The boy can wrestle. He can promo. I agree with you. He's probably the best in the business right now at both. And that's amazing. But we're gonna get sidetracked if we keep talking about
Yes,
MJF
we
the whole
are.
time. Dude.
We can go on
So
about him for
where are we
hours.
gonna go? Where are we gonna go right here is I'm gonna steal like what your fucking diatribe is, and I'm gonna say this. What are your top 2 old school finishers and your 2 favorite new school finishers right now?
Loved it. That's exactly where I was gonna go. Look at that.
I figured.
You old school, you guys be playing chess out here. We're playing checkers. But when it comes to old school, the 2 finishers that really stand out to me has got to be obviously the super kick, the sweet chin music.
Yeah.
Because Shawn Michaels, the way that he executed it, doing like the stomp and then, leading to that moment with the super kick was always just a cinematic moment that I think like the match is already like a 4.9, but when he hits that, sweet chin music and just the crowd erupts, it becomes a 5-star classic. The second old school finisher that I, absolutely love that, a lot of wrestlers are, they're really taking like how much meaning this finisher has. The Tombstone Pile Driver, Undertaker. And the only person that, has done a pretty good job with, protecting the Tombstone Pile Driver is Chris Statlander. I will say that. They have done a good job in AEW protecting that finisher. I will say that.
All right, so what about your 2 new school ones now?
So when it comes to new school, obviously I got to go with the RKO because Randy Orton, the way that he hits that RKO, it's just out of nowhere. And it works.
Okay. And number 2.
And the second one I got to go with, and this is another very protected finisher in AEW, and I wish that more finishers in All Elite Wrestling could be protected. It's got to be Kenny Omega's One-Winged Angel.
Ooh, that's a good one, dude. That's a really good one.
Because think about how many people have kicked out of that finisher in AEW.
Yeah.
Not even a handful
many.
of people.
No. They protect it. Yeah, you're right. All right, so old school for me, dude. Shawn Michaels. You said it. Super kick. That was just the icing on the cake to every match he did, man. It was beautiful. It was nothing like the finishers you were seeing back in the day at all. And it really was the cherry on top on every match. And it had the crowd behind it the entire time. My second old school one might surprise you. And it comes from someone who not many people do this move anymore, which I really wish they would, or they get someone to do it. Maybe Dragon Rana but Ultimo Dragon's Dragon Sleeper.
The Dragon Sleeper. That's a good one. Right.
The Dragon Sleeper, just the pullback, the head, the way he locked. If you've ever been in it, like it's fucking awesome. It's kind of like Taz with the Haji Kazume when he locked that in. That's another old school one that I love because you had a lot of leg submissions, a lot of like normal chokes, but like when Ultimo Dragon pulled that off, his matches with Dean Malenko in WCW, dude, were some of the best fucking matches I've ever seen in my life. Like that's another one I wish I would have said earlier. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, because a lot of luchadors, I noticed that. Like there's really not a lot of submissions that they do these days.
Yeah, so when he pulled that off,
destroyers, which that's another really good finisher that Williams invented. That's
TNA,
overused
man.
Nowadays.
Very overused, but I loved that one. As for new school finishers, dude, I love Shinsuke. I love watching him hit that. The Quinceañera, it's beautiful. It's a great looking move. And I got to go with you on the Kenny Omega, the One-Winged Angel. That's a beautiful finisher. Now, above all those 4, I think that the Diamond Cutter / RKO is the greatest finisher in wrestling history. Because the way, like you say, the way Randy Orton does it, and he can do it from fucking anywhere and make it look good. And that's, dude, hats off to the people that let him make him do that out of nowhere. Like the Evan Bournes, the Kofi Kingstons, the Seth Rollins.
JD McDonough at Survivor
JD
Series.
McDonough. Oh my God, right, dude? Like, there's so many people you could list that just took such sick RKOs. But there's so many moves based off of it. It all comes back from the cutter. When DDP did the diamond cutter, man, and like you got the fucking bang afterwards, dude. That's another one of the old school finishers that like really captured the attention that like the super kick did.
You know
for
what I miss when it
WCW.
comes to finishers? I do have to say real quick before like I forget.
Mhm.
This is one thing I noticed with a lot of new school wrestlers that they don't do is build up the finisher. Like how Randy Orton sits there, he like smacks his fist like on the mat, waiting to hit that RKO.
Yeah.
Like, you know, John Cena doing the whole "you can't see me" thing.
The 5 moves of doom, man.
Like, that's the big thing that I feel like is missing. Like when Shawn Michaels, you know, would build up that sweet chin
Oh,
music.
the kip up, the elbow drop, super kick, dude. Like Drew McIntyre does it really well with
Oh, with the Claymore when he goes
yeah.
like
Mhm.
2, 3. That's a good one.
Which that reminds me, like this is a complete sidetrack. This is marijuana talking. I love Bobby Lashley, but for Christ's sake, stop doing.
Oh, and he does his little.
Like, am I the only one that thinks that looks ridiculous?
Yeah, I will say that. At least Ricky Starks, when he comes out, Ricky Starks be going, da, 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 da,
Oh,
da.
yeah, his character fits it, but Bobby Lashley, boom, boom.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I watching, dude? Like, I digress. But yeah, finishers are
His
awesome,
spear is
man.
beautiful, though. And that's another finisher right there, too, I feel like. The spear, like back in the
It's lost
day,
its luster.
such a great move.
I mean, it's good. It's I don't know. I can't look at it past just it's a fucking spear now, and who does it pretty and who doesn't.
Yeah, and also another one, too, I feel like that definitely should be talked about. It's an old school finisher. You know, Wrestling 101, the pile driver.
Oh yeah, it's
The
also
simple pile
dangerous as
driver.
hell. That's why like it went away for a long time with the Steve Austin Owen Hart incident, dude. But like
Mm-hmm.
it's back now, which is cool, dude. It's a good looking move.
I kind of
yeah,
love
it doesn't
how
mean anything.
MJF does the pile driver. How he
Oh,
has
yeah.
him like to the side of the ropes there, and then he pretty much like lifts them and then like hits them with it.
Oh yeah,
I
the
just think
bullet.
that
Yeah.
catapults them. It's beautiful.
It's sick. It's a sick looking move, dude. I do like that. But yeah, finishers. There's so many kickouts now, and it's becoming so predictable with it. Where like if you're at a pay-per-view, you're going to see a kick out of a finisher probably 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like a lot of old school wrestling fans, they overthink it. I'm just at the point now where like I look at it and I'm just like, it's whatever. I'm just gonna enjoy it because I love
Oh
pro
yeah,
wrestling.
I don't, dude. I'm not mad about it. I know that it's just like it's changed, and I'm good with it. I don't look at it and say "fuck you," it's worse. I look at it like, am I invested? If I'm invested, I don't give a shit, man. Like I'm thrilled. I love being invested in wrestling because there's not many things that you can watch in live time that can create such a stir in you that isn't live theater.
Exactly. And I believe I said this, you know, back in the day on old school versus new school, but it's been a while, so I might as well refresh some of the We Are Wrestling Maniacs, you know, minds. Back in the day, I felt like, you know, old school wrestling, the characters were larger than life. But in the ring, it was very slow paced.
Absolutely,
And then
dude.
we
Almost boring.
boring. And then we get into the Attitude Era. That's when, you know, they started to, you know, pick up the momentum in the ring, which, you know, gets a lot better. But I think the best time in wrestling when it comes to an in-ring standpoint, my opinion, Ruthless Aggression.
Okay.
100%. Because
All
I
right,
think
so
that, to me, was the perfect pace for wrestling. It wasn't too fast. It wasn't too slow. I feel like these days, it's a little too fast, but obviously, I love the art, so I do appreciate it still.
Okay. I'll give you this. I agree with you for the most part. Here's where I disagree with you. I think that a lot of the old school fans mentality, like people who are over 35, I'd say, our wrestling was so different back then. It was great. It was this, it was that, are thinking about it with nostalgia. It's kind of like when
Yes.
you look back and you want to watch like an old cartoon from when you were a kid, like Reboot. Go watch Reboot if you know what Reboot is. It's nowhere near as good as you thought it was.
It's never as
Same
good
with-
as it is.
Same with He-Man, like G.I. Joe, like all that kind of shit. It's because you were watching it with a different set of eyes and a different brain. So as the product evolved, it got a lot easier for us to watch because it grew with us. And most products don't do that. But because wrestling grows with the crowd, it has to sometimes go backwards to start over again. And that's when old fans get upset. It's like, oh, why is it so kiddie right now? It's not. It's just getting to that point to grow with a new audience. So I look at the old school wrestling as like more slow, methodical pace. But then you look at matches like Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man at WrestleMania 3. Or you look at like Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect. Or you look at like Roddy Piper, Ravishing Rick Rude matches, Rick Martel matches, old Ric Flair matches with Sting. There's a lot of matches that met that pace, but you just weren't looking at them with eyes like you are now. You were looking at them with the kid eyes, so you were appreciating that. You wanted the gobbledygooker. You're like, hey, that's a good idea. But you weren't really caring about the Kurt Hennig Perfect Plex and like the perfect chain
I
wrestling of
love
Owen
Mr.
Hart.
Perfect.
It's
I
like,
love-
well, that, but you're an above average smart wrestling fan, Donnie. I'm
Yes.
talking about when you just turned like 12 and you were watching, and if you weren't watching to dissect the match like you do and you can see it now, you got there over time, and that's what the product does. It goes through growth spurts just like you do in life, and it grows with the crowd because you're always trying to get that what? That key demographic. When you get older than that key demographic and the world changes beside you, you can either go with it or be old school and think, oh, I don't want it. Fuck that, dude. I love it all. I love the way it grows. I'll grow with it again because I can evolve my own brain with it. I love the business for what it is. It's theatrical violence.
And you see,
at
that's
its
the thing.
finest.
I feel like you and I, that's why like we both have a very similar mind when it comes to it, because we both can really, expand our, knowledge, and we appreciate all the different eras of pro wrestling. And
Exactly, dude.
that's the thing. Like, I totally agree with you because even myself, with my entire background here, I do toy reviews and stuff over on, Best
Yeah.
One Donnie and Toy Hunts. And a lot of that is because of nostalgia. My favorite drug, nostalgia. And at the end of the day, man, like, people that grew up in, 2010, they're going to look at, the Nexus and CM Punk, and they're going to see it like how you saw, Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat, and Macho Man, and how, I got to see like Stone Cold and The Rock, and then, Batista and John Cena at WrestleMania 21. I totally get it from that perspective.
And that's what it is. Once you see it from that perspective, you can see that not only are you watching wrestling, you're watching a different show over different periods of your life that just is this anthology of this beautiful sport that they created that can just be so much to so many people. And there's no other entertainment like that in the world. And I think what happened is during the Attitude Era and the boom with The Rock and Austin and the NWO and WCW, other eyes saw it. No one watched wrestling more than they watched it then because it became this like, wait a second, this is fucking cool now? And then more eyes got on it. And then it had to go through a growth spurt and change again. And it did.
And that's the thing, like any business out there that's, successful, you have to grow, you have to evolve, you have to change things. That's just how it is. And I think that's why pro wrestling is, about to hit another boom, period. Because, the times are changing, and right now there's a lot of momentum. And like you and I were saying, throughout this episode, competition, brings out the best in, everybody. And like right now, what a time to be a pro wrestling fan.
Exactly, dude. It's such a good time.
A lot of people, like, obviously we're, pro wrestling, podcasters, you're in the business, I'm, a part of the business in some way. So obviously, like, we have to do these episodes and we have to nitpick little things, but it's great conversations. It's great discussions.
But that's what it is. With people like me and you,
open up the doors.
I'm not trying to talk over you. I just get excited because people like me and you,
I hear you. I do too, man. I do it all the time.
That's what it is, Donnie. Is people like you, me and you are like-minded. So we're not really nitpicking. We're just saying like, oh, I didn't like this aspect. At the end of the day, I still love the product. And I still love watching any version of the product. And I love having the product. And I love talking about the product. I have value in all of these people. And I got to watch them rise, and to be in the business on the indies now and seeing these people live, knowing, like, dude, Brogan Finley, NXT. Brogan Finley was just
I was so happy to see those reports, man. Absolutely deserves it.
That's what I'm saying,
I got to
dude.
see
It's
that
like,
picture of him and Natalia in the new Heart Dungeon, man. That
Yep.
was awesome.
Dude, it's just that there's so many good things that are positive and happy, man. And like, that's the way I look at it. The world is a scary, scary place to live in sometimes. And just like comedy, dude, if someone can make someone laugh and forget about their feelings for like an hour, dude, that's awesome. Pro wrestling has been doing that for so many people for so long that all we're looked at is for the bad people, the neckbeards, they call them, who bitch about shit and who are the most toxic people on the fucking planet.
And you know where all of them are, Phil? They're all on here.
Yeah,
the smartphones.
Exactly. Because they don't get it. Dude, just be
typing
happy
away.
To have the fucking product. Like people talking shit about certain wrestlers who are bad. I'll say this, dude. My favorite match of day one the other night was Nia Jax and Becky Lynch.
Yep. And that's something, too, that, you know, I will give my thoughts on that pretty quickly here. And now they're all giving her credit. They're all giving Nia Jax credit now. And that's the thing. I was on Hot Takes when she first came back. And I said that this is a great move because we need established stars in the women's division to put over all of these Triple H girls. And
Amen,
guess
brother.
what? She is doing her job safely, and she's giving Becky Lynch more momentum that she hasn't had all year in 2023. But now we're finally going to give her flowers, and it's about damn time. Because
Amen.
Nia Jax, I will say this, I was not the biggest fan last year at the Royal Rumble when she showed up at number 30. I walked out during my stream.
That's great, dude.
And now, a year later, I'm going to be honest, she's one of the most, you know, I'm invested in her more than a lot of other women in the division.
This is her best run yet.
I am very impressed with what she's done.
Yeah.
I wish her nothing but the very best. And I feel like, you know, we're only getting started here. People are already saying in the beginning of this month, people are already saying that Nia Jax versus Becky Lynch is already the match of the year in 2024. Nobody would have had that on their bingo card. But guess what? You and I, we had it on our bingo card because we said it
ironically
when she first came back.
Day one.
We have receipts. Yep, we have receipts.
It's I love. I'll end it with this, man. What I look forward to talk about on this show is professional wrestling, and to go back and relive some of those member berries, as South Park would call them, dude, and have that nostalgic moment and see and not complain or be upset that, like, oh wow, the devil reminds me of the Aces and Eights storyline, or oh well, the Aces and Eights storyline reminds me of the Dungeon of Doom storyline. Dude, everything gets recycled. If it works, reuse it, rename it, try it again. Be here for the ride. Just because we're getting older doesn't mean we're going to get mad at seeing remakes. We can appreciate them for what they are and then go back and look at the old one and be like, oh, they did that good back then, but I like the way they're doing it now. Dude, it's like, how many times have there been versions of Aesop's Fables or like Roman Tales or like great Greek tragedies? Professional wrestling is our version of that. It's our storytelling, dude. So of course they're going to go talk about the Achilles type character that they're going to make. They're going to make other people like that. It's going to happen. You just got to go with it, dude. You're just going to go with it, take the ride, and know it's going to change over time, and you're going to get a new version of it in a couple years.
Exactly. And that's the thing that, you know, I will, you know, leave it off as, you know, this. When, you know, it's all said and done, like, sometimes, like, you do go back in time, and I feel like there are some professional wrestling fans, when they do something nostalgia, and, like, you notice it, you appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's the best part. And honestly, I'm hoping one thing that the Royal Rumble does in 2024, because I think that this is a real possibility now that Triple H is running things. We need those backstage segments with those bingo balls.
Oh my God!
Bring it back, baby!
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Amazing. I don't know if you can see behind me, but like The Rumble is one of my favorite.
Love that
fucking-
poster.
It's one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. There's nothing more fun than getting a bunch of friends together, sitting in the room, and hearing that 5, 4, and watching, dude. I don't know if you've ever been to one live. I've been to 3. They're my favorite shows. I've been to 3 WrestleManias and 3 Royal Rumbles. The Royal Rumbles I remember more than the WrestleMania.
And by the way, if you want to see, me and my friends go, a little crazy, January 27th, we're going to be live on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel for the Rumble. Live watch along, baby.
See, I gave you a little softball plug there.
Yes, you did. And I just hit a home run, baby. But the last thing that we do have to talk about before we close off, the first new episode of Old School versus New School, 5-star matches. The one person that everybody talks about is Dave Meltzer. And I got to ask you, Phil, what's your thoughts on Dave Meltzer's 5-star rating system? Is it good for the business or no?
That's a loaded question, Donnie.
Hey, we gotta hit a hard one before we close this off.
I think this. I think that he has a good wrestling mind. The ones that he are calling 5-star matches, I'll agree with. I'd say 83 to 84% of the time. I think rating matches is a good thing because competition brings out the best in people, always. Like I said. Now, people go by Meltzer's more than anybody else's, but I mean, I'd love to know what your version of a 5-star match is, what your friend's version of a 5-star match is, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a product we love and watching 2 people excel at it and just doing a great job at telling that story. And I've seen some 5-star matches live. The last 5-star match I saw live was Kenny Omega and MJF. In my opinion, that was a 5-star match, man. It had me beginning to end fucking like that. I mean, hell, the next night on Dynamite, dude, I'm front on the fucking TV like this, dude. And that was legitimate. I'm sitting there going, holy fucking shit. Because they were fucking pulling out all stops for a TV match, man. Like it was awesome to be there to be part of it, dude. So that was a 5-star match to me, but it could be a 3-star match to someone else. So like having Dave's system and having those out there, it's good for the competition aspect, but I don't think he's the end all be all of all of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing a lot of pro wrestling fans do. They overanalyze it. They overthink it. And at the end of the day, what Dave Meltzer thinks is a 5-star might not be what you think is a 5-star, what I think is a 5-star. And I think
never
a lot
gave
of people,
a WWE match a 5-star.
I think a lot of people, they they'll go to Dave Meltzer and they'll see what he's rating. And if they think that, he puts a shitty rating on something, then they're going to, let him, decide that, okay, he says it's horrible. I'm not going to watch it. Those fans, I feel like they do need to, open their minds up more and come up with their own opinion. And I think that Dave Meltzer shouldn't be at fault for, fans, doing that because everybody, has their ways of doing things. But I do think that Dave Meltzer definitely does need to, people do need to cut him some slack because at the end of the day, this 5-star, rating system, it's annoying to me because I have to cover it a lot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, with, the whole 5-star, system, it's brilliant because he's got a lot of people paying attention to him and what he's doing. It's fantastic marketing.
If it wasn't for Dave Meltzer, I don't think people would have cared who Will Ospreay was before he came to AEW.
Or Kenny Omega, I'll tell you that.
I honestly believe that those 2 people, and Omega, I'd say when Jericho went over to NJPW and had that feud with him, dude, that put eyes on those people. And then, and not just wrestling fans' eyes who were already there. I'm talking like casual fans and friends of fans were like, dude, you could have watched this shit. Like Will Ospreay has managed to make himself famous that way and in a new wrestling system. And that to me is why he is just one of the best. And I can't wait to see what they do with him on a regular weekly basis in AEW. And so help me God, if he doesn't have a Kenny Omega, Don Callis type run with a belt right away, I don't know. I'm nervous about Ospreay and AEW, the way they treat people sometimes, but I can't wait to see the matches. But I really wanted to see him shine under a brighter light, in my opinion, and give more of that entertainment aspect because he's so good at both.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm also, very curious because obviously 2024, we have a huge free agency year, and somebody that I'm really paying attention to is Okada. I want to see like what happened with him, because I think that it's time for him, to change his scenery, and I think he should go to WWE.
Me too. I agree 100%. He deserves a Mania moment.
Absolutely.
Dude, have him come in and, give him the Shinsuke treatment, dude. Like, let him be the star that he is and prove it. Like, Shinsuke Nakamura is probably the best Japanese signing in WWE history. Him and Asuka are probably the two best workers that have come from IWGP or fucking like NJPW or anywhere over there that like really excelled. And I mean, I'm still pissed off that Shinsuke didn't win the belt from Seth Rollins that night, but because I think that would have been the best fucking writing, and then had Shinsuke get it back, because the way even the feud with Cody, he's so fucking good right now, man, and they're just letting him.
This is the best work we're getting.
Oh God, it's so fucking good, dude. So good. That's just my.
And the best part about Shinsuke, and this is the thing I do appreciate about Old School, his vignettes. Fantastic.
So good. So
vignettes.
Good, dude.
Oh man, I can't wait to do a whole episode on vignettes at some point.
That's what we'll do. Because if we get talking about that right now, dude, best vignettes, then what we'll do also, best talk shows.
Oh,
best wrestling talk shows.
Let us know, in the comment section below, your thoughts on, 5-star matches and finishers, and, what you consider, a finisher or a 5-star match. If you guys enjoyed the new episode of Old School versus New School, we're back. Make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. The Royal Rumble live watch along Saturday, January 27th, over on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel. It's free. So if you guys want to, come join us, by all means, it's going to be a great time. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Phil and I over on our social medias and other ventures. And of course, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace. We Are Wrestling Old School versus New School podcast.